Here we are, 19 games into the season, halfway through, and Inter have been crowned the winter champions.
Obviously a great position for Inter to be in, 19 matches in. History does tell us that winter champions do have a tendency of going on and winning the league in Serie A.
In fact, only 8 times in the last 27 years have the winter champions not gone on to win the league.
So I've prepared some history of winter champions for you guys. So we all know that this season Inter are winter champions, and obviously we don't know who is going to win the league just yet. Last season it was Milan who were winter champions, and obviously they were overtaken by Inter towards February. From 2011 all the way up to 2020, we all know that Juve were on steroids and they just won Scudetto after Scudetto, a total of 9 Scudettos. And only one time out of those 9 times did they have to overcome the winter champions, which were Napoli in 2017 and 2018 under Sarri. Before that, in 2010-2011, we all remember that season oh so dearly after Milan were winter champions and then champions at the end of it. 2009-2010, we kind of shrug it off because Inter were winter champions and champions at the end of it.
Hello and Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry fucking Christmas, guys.
We haven't been around for a while. We miss you. You probably miss us more because our content is amazing, of course.
The best in the world.
But of course, Matty got hit by the vid. We had a scare.
No, I didn't get hit by the vid. I was in contact with the vid on 3 different occasions. One of the times I was testing, and while I was testing I was in contact with someone with COVID, so I had to kind of double quarantine over the past few weeks, so I missed Christmas and all that, and basically we didn't have the facilities to do it online either. Jake tried to do it by himself.
Yeah, I tried to do it myself, and this is how it went. Here's a snippet.
First half, Frank Kessie lost possession 10 times alone in the first half. He has basically 1 foot out the door, in my opinion, right now. And to be honest, the performances were just
boring.
What a snooze fest.
That sucked, and there was construction in the background. That was terrible. It's so much easier with someone else next to you, by the way.
Bro, I'm almost close to telling you let's add a third person, because when we did with like Mintoff, he brought so much like content that I could just like shut up and think about.
And
what
so
I'm
many
say next.
Controversial opinions.
Hey man, like
Mint's
even
a gold mine for that.
Arguing just attracts people as well. I feel like we're too agreeable sometimes.
It's true.
Which is why maybe some of you didn't miss us so much. But fuck it, we have a different segment. Obviously, 19 matches have passed, so the winter break is upon us. A very boring winter break, in fact. We're all locked in with no football. No Serie A. But we've got something a bit different prepared for you. We're going to go through the entire table from top to bottom, so Inter to Salernitana, and we're going to give our slight takes on them. We're going to talk about their biggest win, in our opinion, their biggest loss, their outstanding performer, their flop, and we're just going to have a bit of a chat about each and every team. So feel free to send us your feedback, tell us where you think we went wrong and what you'd rather see teams do and whatever. And
let's go.
So the first team, obviously, that we're gonna cover will be Inter.
Yes, their first, of course, and their biggest win, in my opinion, was the 3-2 to Napoli on match day 13.
I agree. That's kind of
here we go.
This is what kind of showed us that Inter are back. They're not gone, even though they had that terrible pressure in summer, and even the biggest experts were telling you that Inter were going to fail this season, some of them saying they won't even make Champions League. But this was kind of the match day that put Inter over Napoli, who said, okay, Inter are just going to get back and win this.
The thing is, Napoli were on a hot run as well. They were looking like Scudetto favourites back at the time, and Inter really toppled them. They really made them look mortal-like.
They had a full team, but you remember Osimhen broke his fucking eye socket in the beginning of the match. That was the game.
Now he's Batman.
Now he's Batman, and he's soon back apparently.
Yes,
so
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
So we might see Napoli fighting their way up the table once again. Their biggest loss, in my opinion, obviously had to be their loss against Lazio, their only loss this season.
Match day 8. Here we go. Other than that, I would say the 2-2 to Sampdoria on match day 3 was pretty much very avoidable. But the 3-1 to Lazio, of course, takes the cake match day 8.
Yeah, I mean, that game we're all, kind of rooting for Inter with Inzaghi's knowledge on Lazio as a squad, and Correa as well, but it totally went the other way, and Lazio managed to get away with a very convincing win, albeit there was a lot of controversy. Who's Inter's outstanding performer for you this season?
In my opinion, Perisic, man.
Perisic has been really good.
And he's been consistent throughout the whole thing. For me, it was between Perisic and Çalhanoğlu, of course, his recent form, like 6 goals and 7 assists or something. But he did go missing after the Genoa game.
Yeah, no.
And then it was the Milan game that brought him back.
He's very much on a good run of form. It's lasted a while longer than it normally does, so that's a good sign for Inter fans and not a good sign for us.
But Perisic has been super, man.
Yeah, he's kept DeMarco out of that left flank zone and he's owning it, man.
And shout out to Dzeko too, he's been great.
Yeah, I'm going to go down a bit of a different route. I'm going to say that Inter's outstanding performer would be Brozovic. Inter have played 25 games this season, 26 with the Coppa Italia and Champions League. And he's played every single Champions League game and every Serie A game. And he's done a great job across all 25 matches. And his overall passing success is 93%, which is fucking crazy when he's playing all the games. And, all the play goes through him.
He's an anchor, man. He's so safe there.
He distributes the ball to the wings. He's good going forward. He's really tough. He's a tough player to try to dribble past as well or out-muscle. So, to me, it would be Brozovic.
But then if I had to argue with you a bit here, I'd say if Brozovic fell injured, it wouldn't be as bad as if Perisic fell injured for them.
Who do you think? Because I don't quite think that Inter have a direct replacement for Brozovic.
They have quite a bit of depth in the midfield, to be honest with you. Like they can pop Vidal and they can pop Vecino and like they all put
but they're very different to Brozovic.
Of course.
Brozovic is a very
but they can get away with it. Without Perisic, I feel like they can't really get away with it.
I'm not too sure I agree with you. I don't think that Inter can just get by without Brozovic filling in that role. I think that he's one of the players that they would like to keep fit for the entire season because he very much dictates the play. Alright, maybe if they lose him and they play Vidal, for example, it wouldn't be as bad for them because they have Barella and Çalhanoğlu who can make up for the work. But I think he's the key part of that midfield.
No, that I do agree with. He's the metronome.
Yeah.
But let's keep going.
Their flop for you?
No, this was really difficult. It was difficult to find one. I'm just going to play it safe and say Kolarov because he hasn't seen the light of day and Ranocchia and DeMarco have been preferred to him. He's been terrible. He hasn't established himself at all.
I would agree with you, but at the same time I also want to give a shout out to Dumfries. He had big boots to fill in Hakimi and Inter, who can't really spend a lot of money.
But he's really picked up.
He's picking up a little bit now, but for a while Darmian just kept him out of the team and he wasn't looking great. He wasn't really involving himself properly in the matches.
But that just goes to show how unrealistic our expectations are as fans. I mean, it's obvious that he's going to take exactly. He's actually doing very well, in my opinion. The start wasn't great, but he's playing really well now, and that's quite.
He has turned it around. He's gotten a goal to his name as well. He's doing better now. But at least for my expectations, I thought Dumfries would be flying just less than Hakimi. Not like Hakimi, but there was a lot of hype around the guy. So next up in second, it would be Milan.
Okay, so for me, the biggest win for Milan was the 3-2 against Atalanta on match day 7. The scoreline is totally misleading. Milan were 3-0 up and they totally outdid Atalanta that game.
Dominating. Yep, I agree with you. I think any team that beats Atalanta 99% gets the shout over here because they're such a tough team to play. But I really want to give a shout out to Milan against Verona, the 3-2. I think when it comes to attitudes, that's the biggest win for Milan because on any other season, any given season, Milan would have drawn or lost that game. They would have dropped points, probably lost. And this, Castillejo coming on and doing what he did and having that performance, that game was
a staple. One. It was a staple. Milan were down bad. They were 2-0 down, injury plagued, and as Matthew said, it took Castillejo, who wasn't even meant to be considered.
Literally, he was left out of the Champions League squad.
And he came on with a point to prove, and he forced the winning goal.
Choice.
He crossed it on to Gunter, I believe, who scored an own goal.
Yeah, that was unlucky, but this fucking disastrous from him.
Biggest loss.
Yeah, I think we'll probably agree here.
Again?
Yeah, the 3-1 home loss to Sassuolo.
I disagree with you.
Wow, okay.
I say the biggest loss was to Fiorentina because
we
Milan
had a full team.
Exactly. Fiorentina were extremely weakened at the back.
Yeah.
Milan were coming back into the game and then Theo just fucking lost it at the end.
Yeah.
And so that for me was the most disappointed I was this season. The Sassuolo take loss wasn't as hard to swallow.
So I was very much debating between the Fiorentina game and the Sassuolo game, because yes, the Fiorentina game, ended the unbeaten streak that Milan had. But at the same time, one place I've always criticized Milan was their inability to bounce back after losses. And I was really hopeful that Milan, and it was a weakened side, but these are all players that should beat Sassuolo. I know Sassuolo have a crazy record against big teams this season, but I think that's a game where true character that game could have gotten away with the victory.
and there was a massive element of complacency that game after getting the early lead through Romagnoli. Everyone fell asleep. They switched off after that.
It just took giving Scamacca some space, and he fucking fired that into the roof of the net with a super goal.
What an animal.
And Romagnoli scored and then had probably his worst performance in a Milan shirt after that. It was really bad.
It was like Boateng level embarrassment with Messi.
Exactly. But fuck it, he's been a bit better recently, which is nice to see. Milan's outstanding performer, brother.
For me, it was between two men, Tomori and Leao. But I'm gonna go.
No fucking way.
I'm gonna go with Leao.
Okay.
I think Leao has improved significantly. I think he's been a menace. I think he brings something different going forward. Completely.
I can't choose between these two for this reason. I think when either of them is out of the team, it really impacts Milan directly. Like, Leao, no one brings what he brings to the game in Milan. No one. The trickery, the way he's able to get past players at top form. Rebic and Diaz and perhaps Salamakers.
But it has to be said that Messias is a budget Leao.
That's true.
He does take his man on.
I get what you mean, but Leao is crazy. Sometimes I'm like, how the fuck did he get?
And
out
his
of
build, his physique, he's a proper athlete. Ideal footballing physique. Saponara could never.
Literally. But I think you bring on Rebic when Leao was injured, and he can kind of get the job done because he's a great player himself. I think when Milan lose Tomori, that's the player that really affects them the most. All those losses, all those dropped points were because Tomori was. I know he made a mistake against Liverpool and shit. Give him a fucking break, it's Tomori. But yeah,
I understand and respect your opinion.
Fantastic.
Now flop, Bakayoko.
So to me, he was supposed to be a safe choice to replace Kessie due to AFCON, because he knows the team.
I'm going to defend him.
I'm going to say he had a slow start. He had a very slow start, and he's been very clumsy.
Yes, he's been terrible. He gives the ball away, a simple pass, he fucks it, a simple forward ball, he gives it to the opponent. He's been terrible. But he was also terrible to begin with when he was with Milan under Gattuso.
100%.
And then Chelsea he became incredible.
Chelsea fans think he's shit.
Yeah. Well, I'll never forget his performances under Gattuso. He was
had.
so good. He would just take everyone on in the midfield, play forward balls. He looked so confident. He'd out-muscle everyone.
People forget that Bakayoko was in the midfield with Napoli last season. He was starting there alongside Ruiz and Zielinski and occasionally Mertens. And he was great. He's a good player.
He didn't make the starting 11.
No, he did. For most of the games, he was a consistent starter for Napoli.
I remember him coming off the bench more often than not.
No, I remember him. I had him on Fanta as well. And he always had that 65% about him, but he'd come on.
The orange bar.
But he'd play. So third are Napoli. So in my opinion, their biggest win would be the 1-0 victory against Milan. I think that was on match day 18, so very recently. That showed that kept them in the title race. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now both teams were heavily injured, so there's no excuse of only Milan being weakened. Napoli were a very weakened side as well. They didn't have fucking half their players, man.
Yeah, neither did Milan. In fact, it wasn't a particularly amazing victory. It wasn't convincing. I would say that their match day 14 4-0 win to Lazio was more impressive, personally. I'd go for that.
That's a very good shout. Yeah, that's a very good shout.
Yeah, they destroyed them, and Lazio were quite hot back then.
I would argue though that Lazio are much further down the table than Milan, and there's that direct competition with Milan. So I'd regard this one as maybe a more vital one.
Their biggest loss has to be the 1-0 to Spezia, right?
Oh, 100%.
Spezia had no shots on target, and they won.
Yeah.
And Thiago Motta's their manager.
After beating Milan, just like try not to lose to Spezia at home.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Not as easy as that.
Give the fans a bit more bragging rights.
Yeah,
like, Jesus Christ.
Outstanding performers for you?
Okay, there have been many. It was difficult to pick one.
It's an insane amount.
For me, the outstanding performer has been Osimhen.
No, it's impossible to. You only have to pick one, and you don't pick Osimhen.
So let's count Osimhen as the guarantee. Who would your second pick be?
I like Anguissa.
Anguissa has settled in very well.
I really like Anguissa. People are tending to forget Koulibaly because he's been injured, but he's been fucking fantastic, and he even scored like 2 in a couple of games, bro, as well.
And Fabian Ruiz 5 goals from out of the box. Are you kidding me?
He's a constant gem. All he needs is a manager's full trust.
But the season
he's
like thing. So much better than he was last year.
He was great last season as well.
He was, but he didn't have that final product. This year's something different. This year's another level for him.
Yeah, bear in mind there were under Gattuso he was strongly linked with a move away, so sometimes he was phased out of the team a little bit. But now he's just getting full faith from Spalletti, and he's been incredible for them. Their flop, if I had to choose one, I'd say Manolas. He's off to Olympiacos now. He had a shocking start. He got benched third to fourth choice.
Got benched by Rahmani and Jesus.
I still think he could have done a decent job, but obviously there's behind the scenes that I have no idea about. Maybe it was a fucking cunt to Spalletti or something. I'd say Manolas. At least from my expectations, I always really rated the guy, not only for his speed. I think he's an intelligent defender as well.
For the sake of being different, I'd say Meret.
Okay,
because Meret got benched by Ospina again. When is this guy gonna establish himself? There were Gigio comparisons when he first came up. Granted, he isn't the oldest, but
it's really problematic when you have a young, promising goalkeeper and the old, experienced goalkeeper is playing ahead of him.
Granted, Ospina's a very well-respected goalkeeper. In Colombia, he's viewed as a god, and even at Napoli, he pulls off amazing saves.
I don't find him consistent, Ospina. The season begs to differ. But I never saw him as a very solid goalkeeper for some reason, man. I think
probably because of that haircut, man.
He
looks like a Bolivian waiter. Like
he really pushes the ball. Well, at least he used to. Basically save the ball and it just bounces in front of him. He never parried the ball away from play, and his handling wasn't great as well. This season obviously is a different story. He's really on form.
Atalanta's biggest win, my brother. They sit 4th currently.
Yep, so I'm not going to say the Napoli game because Napoli had terrible injuries. I'm going to say when they beat Juve 1-0 away from home on match day 14th. Staple.
That's fucking annoying, man. We might as well have prepared once.
What? You got the same one as well?
I have Juve 1-0 match day 14. First win away to Juve since forever.
I'm here thinking I'm hipster.
Napoli's 3-2 match day 16 victory. But yes, I would say it was the Juve one. They made history,
Yeah, that was
the first time they'd ever won actually at the Juve stadium.
And Juve weren't bad that game.
They weren't.
By all means, they put up a fucking war. But Atalanta just when it's a scrap. Atalanta are just
they'll outscore
fantastic.
You. You might score 3, but still lose.
Exactly.
Their biggest loss has to be the 4-1 to Roma match day 18.
Obviously, outclassed Mourinho.
Or else, if not that, the 3-2 loss to Milan just because they were 3-0 down. Gasperini got it all wrong. They were totally outclassed.
Well, Pioli. That was when we named the episode The Fantastic Mr. Pioli.
Yeah, he's the man-to-man idea, overlapping and the shifting players. That was brilliant.
The outstanding performer, in your opinion?
Duvan Zapata.
Okay, good shout. Obviously, top goal scorer for them. I would say Pasalic though when it comes to doing everything basically.
But Pasalic, the thing about Pasalic is he's kind of a luxury player for them. They bring him off the bench and he does what he needs to do off the bench. They don't really rely on him. He's more of a jolly. When it comes to Duvan Zapata, he starts the game, he grinds it out. A lot of the play revolves around him actually. Down the flanks to Duvan Zapata.
Granted, Duvan is the first name on the team sheet. But I like making these statements and comments taking into account my expectations of the player. So Duvan to me is always going to be that player that's going to grab goals.
But he had a bit of a rough year last year.
He did have a bit of a rough
Muriel was
year.
better than him.
But, you look at Pasalic, you see the amount he's contributed from the role that he plays, and it just seems like no matter who has the ball, Pasalic is always available. And I think that's a massive part to Gasperini's game, whether Pasalic is starting the game or not. I don't think that says anything about him as a player, and it says everything about the system that Gasperini is the leader of.
7 goals and 5 assists in 13 appearances this season for Mario Pasalic. An incredible player. He's got the brain of Albert Einstein.
He's insane.
He reads the game so
like
well.
I can't look at those stats as a midfielder and not give it to him. He's been incredible.
He has.
Come home, dude. Flop, I would say Muriel.
Luis Muriel, 100%.
Not because he's been bad when he's been on the pitch, because he's still been good when he's been on the pitch. It's more his availability has been
his
unreliable.
Fitness.
He looks done after a while. Like,
and then there's another flop in my opinion who has the opposite problem. So Muriel's problem is he can't get fit, right? Then there's Mele, who's fit most of the time. He's athletic, he's up and down for 90 minutes, but he kind of fucking sucks, dude.
Yeah.
He's just crossing and it doesn't make it. He's just dribbling and he doesn't get past him. He passes and it just doesn't get there,
Especially after the Euros he's had, I did expect better from
even
Mele.
the end of last season, he was pretty good.
Yeah, 100%. The next team will be covering obviously is position 5, Juve. So to me, Juve's biggest win was the 1-0 victory against Fiorentina. Fiorentina were
What match day was that?
That was match day 12, when Fiorentina were like flying in 5th place. There speculations about them fighting for Europe and stuff. It was peak Fiorentina, and Juve managed to get away with a home win, and that it was fantastic.
After that victory, they had to take on Lazio, and that's actually my game of the season for Juve. They won 2-0. It was a fucking difficult game for them. They played really well, to be honest, defensively, and Bonucci scored 2 penalties. Remember that game?
Yeah.
For me, that was the biggest victory for them. Bonucci's first double, by the way.
Yeah, both from the spot. I remember that. However, like as much as I agree that that's a great victory, beating a team like Lazio that amount, I think that Fiorentina this season have been better than Lazio, and that's why they're higher up in the table. So that's why I rate this victory as a more impressive one from Juve. I think Lazio have been inconsistent and they're just dropping points for fun against the bigger teams.
One point Roma. I'd like to make is when teams like Lazio play against Juve, their players step up, right? They want that recognition. They want to beat the big dogs, and their players are overall better than Fiorentina's.
Yeah,
so Fiorentina's guys stepped up, it's true, but it's not quite as difficult as playing against Lazio's quality, in my opinion.
However, Fiorentina-Juve is a bit of a derby. Because
Fiorentina
they fucking hate Juve,
exactly.
So they always play really well against. It's always a really tough game. It's like when Napoli played Salernitana and they had a tough time. It's very similar to that. And
that's
it was
hilarious that they struggled so much.
And it was a scrap, and Juve got away with a very a great victory. Fiorentina were great in that match, man. Really good.
Okay.
Their biggest loss, there have been
quite a few to choose from. I'd say the 1-0 to Empoli, match day 2. Ronaldo had just left. They needed to prove that they could do what they do without him, and they did not manage, and that was devastating for them to give them a bit of a reality check, I think.
Yeah, and I think especially match day 2 being so early on in the season, no one had an idea how good Empoli were. So them beating Juve away from home was more embarrassing for Juve than it was impressive for Empoli, for a lot of fans around the globe. So yeah, I'd say a home loss to Empoli, that shouldn't happen.
Yeah, definitely. Top performer
to me, I know we're going to disagree on this. I would say Dybala, for the simple reason that, the main problem with Juve apart from their midfield would be not having a striker. And I know Dybala has only played 13 matches this season because he's been injured more often than not. But he's contributed 5 goals and 3 assists in 13 games. I think when everyone has all their focus on Chiesa after his great Euros and talking about the return of Moise Kean as well, I think Dybala stepped it up. I knew he was going to have a good season because he does perform well under Allegri, and I think he stepped it up this season, and he's been really unlucky. He's hit the crossbar on many occasions as well, so I would say Dybala.
I have a problem with Dybala. I have a problem that Juve want to make him their the main character, the guy that runs the show.
He's pretty, man.
Maybe. He's very good. And those numbers are pretty impressive. 5 goals and 3 assists in 13 games. The problem is the last number, the 13 games, He's always injured. Always injured. And
it's 6 out of
and that
19
to me
matches
doesn't make him
on.
the outstanding performer. Like you look at, for example, Cuadrado. Cuadrado's played 17 games. He's scored 4 goals. He's versatile. He's Mr. Reliable. If Juve are having a bad game, it's Cuadrado who's trying to create things. And he's fucking defending as well. He's a good player. I'd give him the top for now.
I think with the system built around him, he doesn't get to show off his skills as much as he used to before, in my opinion. So, that's why I didn't give him outstanding performer. But it's a good shout. Cuadrado's been consistently great for Juve while they've been on the decline for a while now, and he deserves some credit. So you've got a good shout there.
Your flop?
My flop is Szczesny. So obviously there have been a lot of players that you can call flops, and I think that since Juve are kind of flopping this season, that obviously Szczesny is going to get the bad end of the stick because he's the guy conceding the goals after the players make mistakes. However, I do think that he just let in way too many goals that he shouldn't have. I don't think he's been reliable.
At the beginning especially. He's picked up since he saved them a few times. But and
then there are players
I get where you're coming from. Like.
Yeah, who's yours before I say my other one?
My flop is Allegri.
Oh, come on.
That's true, of course.
It was coming at some time.
Of course. His inability to adapt to the team that he has. Granted, the team isn't great, but he's fucking playing his system without the players necessary to play his system, and then complaining, saying that his team is a 10th place team and he has to be realistic. What the fuck are you doing, dude? Change the system.
But he turns.
You have to play a 4-4-2. You don't have wingers.
But he turns it around at the second half of the season, man. Juve do at least as well. It's a common factor in them.
If it weren't Allegri, I'd say
Alexandro, fair
just because of his rapid decline. It's like
Artur, I kind of agree over there.
Arthur's another one I wrote down.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I heard that Juve are interested in Luis Alberto,
right?
And if they land Luis Alberto, to me he's their outstanding performer already, because the way he'll fit into that team would be beautiful.
Isn't it crazy that Juve value Arthur more than Lazio value Luis Alberto?
Hey man, but it's not Lazio, it's Sarri, which is Lazio to be completely fair, but
moving on to the 6th position, we have Roma. The biggest win for Roma, in your opinion, bro?
For sure, 2 match days ago, match day 18, a 4-1 away victory against Atalanta. We've mentioned it already, but has to be highlighted again. It's Roma's biggest win of the season.
For sure, they outdid them. They scored in the first minute and they defended really well. Atalanta couldn't penetrate, and they kept hitting them on the counter and scoring. Tammy was great, Mkhitaryan was great.
Zaniolo
was great.
I love the guy, man, so much.
We shall talk about you very soon, Zaniolo. Biggest loss, 3-0 to Inter, match day 16. They completely got outplayed. They didn't even begin, Mourinho's comments before the game weren't hopeful, and the performance was fucking even worse than the words.
Yeah, so obviously that's a devastating loss for them, 3-0 against Inter, who are somewhat of their rivals.
You want to when you play a team like Inter, you want to show that you can handle it.
Yeah.
That you can compete with the best. But they showed that they were a class underneath them. They were a class below them.
No, totally. That definitely is a wake-up call for Mourinho and Roma. But I think Inter was never a game that Roma were going to win. So instead I put Venezia 3, Roma 2. Roma had a full team. They had Pellegrini, they had Veretout, they had Tammy Abraham, they had Zaniolo, they had everyone on the pitch, Mkhitaryan, and they went home from Venice with that lovely boat ride, losing 3-2 against a newly promoted team. So I would make that the most devastating, their biggest loss rather.
Fair enough.
And your outstanding performer, bro?
It has to be the highly praised Pellegrini, 5 goals and 2 assists. He's been pivotal. He's been the main man for Roma. Mourinho, what he has to do is suck him off, to be honest. He's been praising him. He's been praising him so much,
For sure. I think Pellegrini, season in, season out, is Roma's biggest player. He's got that staple to him. He's a great player for Roma to have, and he just signed a new contract as well, which shows that he's determined to stay at the club, hopefully at least for Roma. I have to give a shout out to Ibanez as well. He's been had great. A great start, Roger Ibanez.
He's really thrived off of Mourinho's set piece routines.
Yep, 100%, and he's been contributing because of that. And I'm a happy boy on Fantacalcio. And Smalling, bro.
Is he a staple in your lineup?
Yes, he's
every week.
Yeah,
Ibanez.
after goalkeeper, first thing. Ibanez.
How many is he on?
Sorry?
How many goals is he on?
I
2, 3?
I think 3. Okay. I think 3 goals.
Yeah. He's been fucking good even at the back. So he's one of those aggressive defenders that
now
really
Smalling is back
gets stuck in.
Yeah, Smalling is back and he'll be a player that Mourinho loves, and I think Roma will improve.
Another dangerous player on set pieces.
Yeah.
And they have Mancini as well, man. Mourinho is really thriving with the set pieces at least. Like
for sure.
If you can say something, that's it.
For sure.
Flop for me, I have two. I have one Kumbulla simply because he hasn't broken out.
Yeah. Well, on loan from Hellas Verona.
I think with an obligation.
With an obligation.
I think so.
That was quite a weird move.
He was great at Verona, to be fair. Everyone thought Roma were getting a gem.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'd say Zaniolo.
I disagree.
Before the last few games, especially, he was playing decently. He was working really hard, but he wasn't creating anything.
Coming back from injury. He was coming back from injury.
Yes, for sure. But
I think he's been
forget
good.
that and look at the performance strictly. Zaniolo's up there for flop.
He gives
his output was nothing.
But his output was nothing. But his work rate is insane, bro. It's
for sure.
He's like well, for a lot of the season in the beginning, you could compare him to Salamackers.
Sure.
That just
wasn't Borini's work rate great?
Oh come on, but Zaniolo's fucking not Borini.
Sure, but the output wasn't there. So what's different?
Right, the output wasn't there, but he was setting people up.
Was he?
Well, not assisting, but he was making the right moves at the right times and dribbling past players, and then maybe his pass would need another one before going into.
I think pairing him with Abraham was the best thing Mourinho could do, to be honest.
And he was coming back the best from injury.
No, that's sure. But there were expectations with Zaniolo, him coming back. They were like, we're getting this amazing player, and he hasn't been as amazing as everyone thought he would be.
Torn both ACLs and had an injury scare during that period as well, and he missed a game or two.
Yeah.
So I would not say him.
So who would you say?
I would say El Shaarawy is a bit of a flop. Obviously,
he scored when it mattered.
Yeah, well, how many is he on? He's not on many goals.
That's a great question. You can distract the audience while I check.
Yeah, basically the reason I would say El Shaarawy is because obviously, with his history at Roma and his history in this area, there's a lot of hype generated around his signing. And I don't think he's put up much of a fight to be in that starting 11.
He's got 2 goals and 5 starts. That's not bad.
But 5 starts is my problem.
Yeah, okay, sure. But no one was really expecting him to be a staple in that team,
I thought that he'd adapt quicker with him having experience in the league, but he wasn't fucking. China, I know, and that's the thing. And then, but still, that doesn't affect my answer. Yeah. I think that contributes.
I had a student who was studying in China. She was telling me that her curfew was at 11 o'clock, and at 11 o'clock they'd fucking close the doors and lock them in or out of their rooms.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and it was a government school, so the government would actually impose that. How crazy is that?
Jesus Christ. Relax, guys.
Relax, exactly. Anyway, go on.
It's 11:05, if your taxi's late or whatever. I think that obviously Spinazzola's out of the team and they tried to replace him with Vina, and I don't think Vina has been great, but it's not
his own injuries, no?
But it's not any of the left backs' fault. It's just a position that really needs improvement for Roma, and it will come when Spinazzola's back. Yeah.
No, wait.
Yeah, I think 4.
4 appearances. That's in the Copa America.
That's in the Copa. Why the fuck the Copa America?
I have no clue. Okay. Who scored? Fuck! Alright, never mind. Let's keep
going.
So
in 7th, there's Fiorentina. So their biggest win for you, bro.
Fiorentina's biggest win for me was the 4-3 to Milan on match day 13.
For sure.
That really showed that they mean business.
Yeah, Milan were undefeated. Fiorentina had their 2 centre backs in Quarta and Milenkovic missing, and Vlahovic got a doppietta. Saponara scored a mamma. Yeah, Duncan scored. It was a show wave, and Ibra
I lost
scored
3 years
2.
of my life that day.
The comeback was so on.
It's not often that you concede 3 and go home with a smile, and that's what they did that day.
Yep.
Their biggest loss must have been, in my opinion, to Venezia, 1-0 match day 8. That was atrocious, a terrible performance by them. Respect to Venezia, they played really well, but Fiorentina did not show up straight up.
Yeah, it sucks mentioning Venezia and Empoli in these because it makes it seem like we don't rate them highly. I think they're 2 great teams, especially Empoli.
Regardless of how good they are, Fiorentina should beat them.
I think the teams having more experience in Serie A than them should be enough to get the victory over them. Their outstanding performance.
Okay, let's put Vlahovic aside.
Oh wow, okay.
We have the same
thing. Oh my god, bro.
Vlahovic, top performer. Shout out Martin. Alright, shout out to Ricky Saponara. I thought that this might be a level too high for him.
Yeah, same.
After his Spezia days, I was like, Italiano likes him, but can he deploy him at Fiorentina? And he has actually managed.
In fact, Nico Gonzalez is my flop. I know he's competing. I know he's competing against a fantastic player. But he's been phased out. He's a young man in his prime and is being benched by an old dog.
Yes.
So flop.
For me, it's Amrabat. He was very highly rated at Hellas Verona. He joined Fiorentina. He dipped a little bit, but he was decent. But he got even worse this season. He's struggling to make the
player,
team.
But the system isn't for him. They want Torreira over there rather than Amrabat. They don't want the physicality. They want a Jorginho-esque, you know.
Yeah, they want Italiano ball, right?
Exactly.
Lazio, position 8th. Biggest win, in my opinion, match day 6 to Roma, the Derby della Capitale, and they won 3-2.
Oh, wow. I would not have said that. I said their 3-1 win against Inter.
Yeah.
Inter's only loss of the season coming against Lazio, who were...
What match day was that?
Match day 8.
Match day 8, okay.
And I have honourable mention for the Roma derby because for them it's the biggest game of the season, so I totally understand why.
Fair enough. Me, just because this is a derby, it must have made everyone really happy. They must have fired that.
But their win against Inter was...
convincing, definitely. The biggest loss, 4-1 to Verona match day 9 or 3-0 to Bologna match day 7?
I'd say 3-0 to Bologna. You know what pisses me off about that? That we were in Bologna and we watched Sassuolo against Inter, and we could have watched Bologna beat 3-0 to Lazio as well, which would have been great. That would have been
crazy,
beautiful, bro. Just 2 games, 2 matches. Oh my god, I would have puked so much.
But Verona one was embarrassing because Simeone scored like 4 goals against. I mean, that's just fucked.
Literally.
So for them, that has to be the toughest pill.
But it's also a freak occurrence, you know that. Like
the Bologna one, they had their excuses though. They had a really tightly packed fixture, and I think they had Immobile out that game.
Yep. Apparently I made a purchase of $49.99 on PlayStation Network. That's probably for the PS Plus.
Yeah, probably. That's a bit cheap for PS Plus.
No,
sure.
for 1 year. For 1 year. Whatever. The outstanding performer for you, Lazio's outstanding performer.
Pedro, 7 goals and 3 assists. He's been fucking incredible.
Yep. I put Immobile because he's the second top scorer in the league.
But even when Immobile has been out, man, Pedro's he's been there. He's been fantastic, reminding me of his Barcelona
days. But just
days.
Immobile is Lazio, you know, and does it season after season. So
fair enough. So let us know who you think is making the best shouts here.
Arguments.
Yes, thank you. I'm struggling. I'm fucking hammered. This Contrada Luce.
Contrada Luce, it's a Nero d'Avola.
Nero d'Avola, yes. I got this in a hamper from work.
Hey, it's good, man.
It's
I
good,
really like it.
Decent.
I really like it.
Thank you, IELS.
No matter who I go out with, except for you and Jamie. They always order white wine, and I just always want red, man. Always. Red. Their flop.
Lazzari.
I agree.
He hasn't managed to make the team. Sarri seems to, you know.
Yeah.
He leaves a lot wanting for Sarri. That's
Lazzari is not good for a 4 in the back.
Yeah.
He's naturally a winger.
Yeah.
A right
3-5-2 and pop him in.
Exactly. Or even a 4-3-3.
Just to be different, I'd say Patrick as well. Patrick has been fucking abysmal.
Fair enough.
Terrible player.
Yeah. I think there are a lot of people who can mention for Lazio. I think Acerbi is having a bit of a shocker this season as well. I read a message from his ultras.
He got forced out apparently. Yeah, the ultras
said if he's on the pitch, we're booing him. Yeah. It doesn't matter what.
Regardless,
they were
the venue, regardless the performance, we're booing
the occasion.
Him, right?
They were calling him a pussy for not approaching the fans after a loss.
For shushing them, he shushed them. He shushed them.
Oh wow, come on, like you.
Yeah. Get the culture,
it's
bro.
Not what you do.
You don't shush the curva.
Actually, that's a good shout at Cherby.
Yeah.
Interesting. Position 9 is Empoli. Wow.
Biggest win. Now there have been many. They've beaten Sassuolo, they've beaten Fiorentina, they've beaten Napoli, but mine has to be match day 2. The new kids on the block. We have an episode named after it, and Girazzoli's balls or Empoli's massive balls or something. Yeah. Juve 1-0. Yeah. Away to Juve and they beat them 1-0.
Yep, same.
Fantastic performance.
And bear in mind, one thing I'd like to mention is that early on in the season, Juve were tipped to win the fucking thing. Well, before the season started.
They were the favourites.
They had Ronaldo still. They still had Ronaldo. I'm like, alright, these guys, they have Allegri back now.
I think they had just lost Ronaldo.
Chiesa, Ronaldo.
They had just lost him. He played the first game.
Yes. But they were still hinted to be great. You know what I mean? Their biggest loss.
Their biggest loss. I'm like a flopper. Their biggest loss 3-0 to Sampdoria, the Condrevant Caputo show, but you shouldn't lose 3-0 to Sampdoria. That was, I think, at the beginning of the season, match day, one of them.
Yeah. Wow, I missed that one.
Yeah.
I would have put down, but to me it's the home loss against Venezia. No, I defended Empoli in this, and I said obviously if there's a squad that knows them well in the league, it's Venezia, so it's kind of somewhat justified. There was a weird red card as well in that match. But yeah, I would agree with you.
Yeah, okay, cool. Their top performer, for me it was difficult. They have so many good players, man.
To me, I'm going to mention two. I'm going to say Bayrami and Ricci.
Okay, I agree with both, but how can you not put the red hot Pinamonti, man?
You're right. Pinamonti's been great.
He's been the breakout. Everyone thought Cutrone was going to do that, but in fact it was Pinamonti.
Cutrone's my flop.
Yeah, Cutrone's my flop too. He's on 2 goals only. He hasn't really established himself. And it's crazy. Like, is this guy going to establish himself?
Like, his CV, well, I'm going to correct myself. He had a great time at Milan. Well, a great time because he was
considering his age, he had a great time at Milan.
Difference is, he was a substitute at his boyhood club who he has tattooed on his arm, and he was coming on with nothing to lose. Just wanted to prove himself and wanted to get goals and have fun, and he was doing that.
He was.
But then you put him in the Premier League straight after that. What a mistake. Like, he should not have gone to the Premier League. And now he's back here, and they put with Fiorentina, and unfortunately for him, Vlahovic was on the rise over there, so there was no way he was going to play.
And Fiorentina were in turmoil, so he didn't have time to like grow and really show what he can do.
Exactly. So
Wolves as well, you don't put a young Italian in the Premier League, what the fuck are you doing?
So this is a dip for Cutrone, and Empoli signed him throughout his dip, and he's still dipping, I'm afraid. Hopefully he picks it up. He's a young guy, he can. Sometimes I just think he's a bit of a one-trick pony, man, and I really think I'm wrong.
He's a workhorse, right?
Yeah.
He presses, he's a poacher, but he needs to widen, he needs to broaden his horizons. That's what he needs to do. And Bologna, position 10th, biggest win for me against Lazio, match day 7, 3-0.
Agreed.
Yeah, easy one. Biggest loss for me, 6-1 to Inter on match day 4.
Shocking. Agreed. Obviously, I know it's against Inter, but if you concede 6, like it's wow.
The most predictable shouts for the most unpredictable team in the league.
True.
Their top performer for me, Aaron Hickey, left back, Scottish, 19 years old, 4 goals, consistent, reliable. Every week he's there. He fucking never bends over for anyone. He's a top talent. What do you think?
Rightly so. He's been linked with the biggest names in Serie A as well. Most recently, Milan as well.
He's been linked to Bayern Munich in the past.
Yep, I agree with you 100%. I think 4 goals for Bologna from a 19-year-old defender, left back, Aaron Hickey, the Scotsman. Like, fantastic. Yeah. I think honourable shout-outs obviously go to Svanberg, who's been contributing from the midfield.
He has, even though he hasn't established himself in the starting 11.
Exactly. And obviously Arnautovic has sorted them out up front, which is key.
Finally, Bologna have a striker.
Yeah.
Finally, it's Arnautovic. He's a god. Like.
Yeah.
Also, no, I want to give a shout out to Theat too.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah,
he's been really good. The big boots of Tomiyasu to fill, and he's filled them very well.
Oh, Tomiyasu.
The flop for me has to be Soriano, man.
I agree. I have Soriano there. I also have Gary Medel.
I disagree, man. As frustrating as Gary Medel is to watch.
Here we go!
As frustrating as he is to watch, he's fucking putting shift after shift in a position that he isn't particularly comfortable in. He's in fucking centre defense.
Back. Yep. Yeah. You're right. It's not a usual position for him.
Yeah. I think he's held his own, and he's really guided the young guys around him.
I think that the defense would be better without him.
No, okay, if they had a better option, granted, but the thing is they don't, and he's a plug.
He's
a Krunic. He's an O'Shea for Ferguson,
That's a good point. It'd be rude to call him a flop. I get that. I just think that if you're playing a player with bags of experience, you should be playing him in his right position, and he should be giving you that experience in return.
But so much talent in the midfield. But anyway, another shout is Orsolini.
I just didn't have high hopes for Orsolini this season.
Really,
that's why I didn't
he has to establish himself at some point, similarly to Cutrone. But recently, he's actually scored a penalty, and Mihailovic said that Orsolini is the main penalty taker at Bologna.
He can hit them, bro.
He also scored a goal recently. I forgot against who, but it was a tight angle. It was a sweet strike. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2 goals, so he's on the rise again, but he had a terrible start. He was completely benched by De Silvestri, and flop.
Tough times. So next would be Torino in 11th. So obviously Torino, much improved side from last season. So that have a lot of, outstanding performers and honourable mentions. To me, their biggest win was their 1-0 victory to Verona. I think Verona are a side that directly compete with Torino. They're in similar stages, they're of similar quality, similar skills, similar style of play as well. And I think them coming away with a victory in a game that they have to win against their direct rivals on match day 18th is a staple performance for Torino, and I'll give them that.
I was gonna pick that one, but then I remembered that fucking Verona got a red card for a tackle on the last man. They got a free kick, and Torino scored from the free kick and just played it safe for the rest of the game. They were kind of gifted that victory. For me, if I had to pick Verona's most significant win, Torino, sorry.
Yeah.
Torino, not Verona. It would be against Sampdoria, the 3-0, match day 11.
Yeah, that's the most convincing one for sure. I didn't choose that one because obviously Sampdoria have been a bit weak.
But
this
Torino
season.
had struggled to score goals, and they have ever since. And this one scoring 3 goals, we're like, wow, Pratt got one, I believe. It was a good game.
But match day 18, a victory against Verona, where Verona have been as good as they have been in the past few games, I would give them that. They really stopped the train over there.
It was just the manner that was done and that put me off. Granted, by the way, that Sampdoria got revenge in the Coppa Italia and lost me €50, do you remember?
Yeah, because this guy makes a couple hundreds on Bet365 and he starts fucking putting in 50s.
Yeah, I put €10 and I work my way up to 300 and I start betting 50s and I lose everything.
Just keep using the same system that got you there.
That's fun. Now, biggest loss has to be Spezia, 1-0. This is a last stunner.
I think you lose to Spezia. It's your most significant loss.
Yeah,
unless it's obviously Salernitana.
Don't make them look good. They're terrible.
No.
Top.
Yep, outstanding performer to me. I've got a few here. I think, in my opinion, it would be Pobega as someone who is key in that team.
Yes.
But then there's been Brekalo, there's been Vanya, there's been Bremer. They've been on fire. You can't not mention Sanabria, who was there when Bellotti wasn't. So
the top
I think
3
Juric has a squad, man.
Yeah. The top 3 for me, Pobega for sure. He's the guarantee. He's the staple. He's hardly ever subbed out. He's constantly. I think he might be the first name on the team sheet. Like he's loved by Juric. Juric said
probably
do what you can. Just keep this guy in my team. But Milan won't budge because they value him very highly.
I almost like that Milan aren't going in January and they want to give him a full preseason before getting
keep him there, man. Imagine this guy is gonna have. He's been coached by Italiano, Juric, and Pioli. Wow.
The question is, man, if he joins Milan, could he be that much of an asset that Milan win the fucking league? You know what I mean? These are always chances
not
that
yet.
But man, he'll bring something to Milan's game for sure.
Yeah, for sure. He's 22 years old,
Yeah.
He's established in Serie A. He scores every season,
I hate how he said he wouldn't mind staying at Torino.
No, you have to say that.
Yeah, but I want, as a Milan fan,
you're there right now, like.
I would want someone to be a Milan boy and say about how his dream is to play for Milan and to spend the entirety of his career at Milan. That's as
personally,
a fan, I want to see
people who are a bit more intelligent. Like I prefer people who are like, I don't want the people of Torino to fucking think I'm here on a holiday,
I get
an
internship
that
as well. But as a Milan fan, I would want young, impressive guys that play with Milan or have a contract with Milan to show us that they want to spend their entire career over there. Now I know you can say that Kessie said that, Chalmers said
exactly.
that,
Words don't mean anything. For me, it's say what's fucking correct, what's publicly deemed as appropriate, and just get on with it.
But this says a lot about us.
I wouldn't mind staying at Torino. I have really fallen in love with the fans here. Then the fans are like, yeah, we love you. Yeah, he scores another fucking 2-3 goals and boom, he's off to Milan. There we go.
That says a lot about me and you. I like words of affirmation.
Yeah. I prefer physical touch. Now let's move on.
Their flop.
Shout out Vanya and Bremer, by the way, of course. Flop for me has to be Andrea Bellotti.
100%. It's not because he's a bad player.
It's just because he really hasn't taken this opportunity by the horns. He's really let it pass him, It's almost like he's already in the future. He's already thinking about his next move. He's indifferent to what happens. He's lethargic on the pitch right now. It's not great for him.
Yeah, that link to Milan, to me, was a Hail Mary for Bellotti rather than Milan. I think he's been out of sorts this season.
But you get linked to a good club, you need to fucking play well, man.
Yeah, I know, but the thing is, he's deserved that move to Milan for so long, and I don't think now is the time. I don't think he deserves it right now.
That's the thing. The second the window has opened, he's not ready.
Exactly.
He's been ready for so long, but now he's not.
Exactly.
Ola Aina has been fucking terrible. Shout out to him.
Yep, shout out to Ola Aina for being shit. Verona. So, their biggest win, in your opinion?
Their biggest win must have been, in my opinion, there are two. One's a comeback and one's a fucking smashing. So, the smashing was on match day 9 to Lazio 4-1. I think that one. I have to go for that one. The most convincing victory, they totally annihilated them. The next one has to be against Venezia. The comeback, they were 3-0 down and they won 4-3 on match day 16. That was fucking impressive.
That was crazy.
Granted, they should have won more comfortably, and they put themselves into that position. So I think Lazio still takes the cake.
I thought that was a Coppa Italia game.
It was not. It was a league game.
Wow. Okay. Well, in my opinion, Verona's biggest win was the 4-1 victory against Lazio. The Ciolito tripletta beating Juve was obviously cool as well, but I would give them the 4-1 victory to Lazio, so I agree with you over there. And Venezia, obviously, like we just had the same discussion about Milan. That's probably the game that showed that, they're going to win the games they should win, even if it's tough. So that was a great one for them. The biggest loss, in your opinion?
3-2 to Milan, simply because they threw away a 2-goal lead and they were red hot and they had to just defend and they didn't manage and they got totally fucked by Castillo.
I cheated in this one. I didn't find enough of a significant loss for Verona to put that there, so I put a 2-2 draw against Salernitana, because I think if you drop points to Salernitana,
you a bitch.
Come on, Salernitana are fucking
Salernitana
bullshit, man.
have 2 victories. One more victory than Cagliari and one more victory than Genoa.
That's fucking mental.
It is, and they're not even meant to be in Serie A. Someone buy them, by the way,
That's
please.
fucking crazy about Lotito.
And for those of you who don't know, Lotito owns Lazio and Salernitana, and apparently you're not meant to own more than one team in the top division of football.
Yeah, but everyone thought it was sorted out.
Yeah, he claimed it was sorted out, but apparently it had not been, and he is still the owner, so apparently they might get disqualified. Meaning, by the way, that Salamakers might be on 0 goals this season.
Oh my god, I never thought about that. That's terrible. Outstanding performer. I think Ciolito, and you can bring up other players who have been great.
Yeah, so let's put Ciolito aside. Of course, Giovanni Simeone, he's been their best player by far. Let's put him aside. I'd say Barak after him.
I agree.
Okay, so for the sake of being different, so our viewers don't kill themselves or crash their cars into a wall, Caprari.
Yeah, bro, I fucking really like Caprari, who's also on loan. I don't know if they have an obligation
they must,
or what. But he's from Sampdoria.
Perhaps, I'm not sure. He's kind of one of those players that moves around a lot. He's always with a different team. I believe he was at Benevento at some point as well.
He's from Sampdoria.
He's from Sampdoria right now. Yeah.
Oh, Sampdoria could fucking use him, man. To be honest with them,
they totally could. Imagine Caprari, Candreva, Caputo, the 3 C's, baby.
That's naughty.
Flop Kevin Lasagna. Once again, he fails to establish himself. Once again, he remains a meme, with his name.
The only reason I didn't put him is because the way I think of it is that Lasagna's the third choice behind Ciolito and
Kalinic. He's not meant to be the third choice. Yeah, he's meant to be fighting for starting spot.
I put from someone who plays a bit more regularly. I put Veloso. I think he's been slow. I think his decision making's been off. I don't think he's a bad player, but I think age is catching up with him, and they could certainly do with a change sometime soon. And also he tends to get booked and he tends to get red cards willy-nilly.
But he's also pretty good on set pieces, huh?
Yeah, he's good on set pieces.
He's very useful.
Yeah, he's an asset over there for sure, but I think overall game time he hasn't been great.
Their biggest loss probably came to Bologna 3-0 match day 19.
Yep,
now the thing is, they're Robin Hood, this team. They steal points from the rich and they lose to the poor sides, and they fucking give them points, of course.
Yeah.
This was one of them. They had just had that amazing run against Milan, Napoli, Juve, and all those teams. Fiorentina too, I believe. And then eventually they just ended up losing 3-0 to Bologna on match day 19. That's their biggest loss for sure.
Yep, and I don't know which side is more inconsistent out of these two, either between Sassuolo and Bologna. It could have gone either way, and Bologna came away with a 3-0 away victory, which was far from what I expected. Obviously, Sassuolo have dropped some points against Spezia, Cagliari, Genoa, and they shouldn't be doing that either. But they're climbing up the table now, position 13, so they'll be a bit happier.
So their top performer?
The top performers were obviously Berardi, and this season...
let's put Berardi aside.
Scamacca. Yeah.
I'd say Frattesi.
Frattesi's been great as well. Yeah. But I think 6 goals for Scamacca.
He's been good, but Frattesi has really established himself well. And remember, he was playing in Serie A last season. He's scoring goals. He's putting himself in those positions. Like, I think he's going to be a nice, to be honest, capital gain for them.
No, for sure.
They'll sell him 100%. There's no way they hold on to this.
He's been great at replacing Locatelli.
He has.
Over there.
He has. He's really filled in big shoes.
With that argument, you've got 2 young Italian guys, both young. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
him and Scamacca,
Frattesi in the midfield doing bits. Scamacca up front getting 6 goals after they let Caputo go to Sampdoria, who's on 4 goals right now. So a nice little gain for Sassuolo over there. Yeah. Their flops, in your opinion?
So quite a few to choose from. I would say there's Kirikes, there's Defrel, there's Traore, and there's Raspadori. Like, so who are you going to choose from those guys? Kirikes, I never had much hope for, to be honest. I don't really rate him. Defrel, the same. I never really had hope for him. Traore, I assumed Traore would break out this season, considering he's been around for 2 or 3 seasons now. So I would label him the flop. Okay. Raspadori, I'd give him another season before I label him a flop.
Yeah, I agree. I think Raspadori is doing his best right now. Is that enough? Probably not, but he's getting there. He's doing a bit better right now. For me, I'm gonna say Kirikes because I think he's done most damage when he's played out of all those. I don't think Raspadori.
But when has he ever done otherwise?
No, that's fair enough, but doesn't stop him from being a fucking flop. You know what I mean?
But isn't a flop someone who you think is gonna do well, but they don't?
Not only, I think if a guy is starting, then there's clearly enough faith being shown by the manager for him to perform, and I don't think Kirikes has done that. He hasn't stepped it up at all.
No, he's been on a constant decline.
Yep. Like. Defred has shown us slight hints, but still overall, I think he has flopped. And Traore, I expected more from him. Raspadori, he's there was some hype around him.
It's his second season.
But he was a substitute last season. Now he's
exactly starting. So he's on the right track in my opinion. Granted, terrible mentality celebrating after the Inter fucking loss.
That was horrible, man. Position 14th, Udinese, biggest win for you.
3-2 to Sassuolo, match day 12. You?
Agreed, and I would like to give an honourable mention to their 4-4 draw against Lazio, which is the most thrilling Serie A match I've watched.
That was the game of the season, by the way.
Agreed.
Honestly, go watch the highlights if you haven't seen it.
Udinese bring it, man. Yeah. They bring it so much. Like,
biggest loss for me, Napoli 4-0 match day 4.
Fair enough, but it was Napoli full flown, so I put their 3-1 away loss to Empoli on match day 16.
Okay, fair enough. Nice. Good.
Yep. Top. Outstanding performer for you.
Of course, let's put Beto aside because we can obviously agree.
You keep putting my choice aside.
Yeah, I'd say Molina, second shout.
Yep, I put Molina and Delafeu. Molina, obviously, we probably agree that he's been impressing and contributing way more than we thought he would, and he's been solid and a staple in his position. Delafeu, because it's always a toss of a coin on how he's going to do in the season, and I think it landed on heads, and he's been performing super.
Molina's 23 years old, obviously he's doing really well for his age. Beto, I can't see him staying beyond the season. He's been fantastic, he's strong, he's fast, he's a good poacher. He does well with space.
Before
honestly,
his price goes up.
Yes. I think he's one of those. I think he's one of those you have to grab early.
Yep. I would say their flop is Striker Larsen. Personally,
Striker Larsen hasn't even been playing because apparently he's linked with a move away. I know this because I have him on my fantasy football and he's just vanished. He's there on my team but he doesn't play. I would say Sopi has been pretty shit.
Yeah, I thought about Sopi, but then again he's 19.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
And also Bram Nuiting hasn't quite been himself this season.
He hasn't been as good as he was last season, but last season he was kind
particularly
of better.
Great.
He was better in the second half of the season as well. So it'll be interesting to see how he comes out.
Striker Larsen's a great shout. I think I have to agree with you there.
Yeah.
Classic.
Cool.
Sampdoria, position 15th. Their biggest victory, in my opinion, was the 3-1 to Verona, match day 14th. There are 2-2 to Inter, and match day 2 was also a pretty impressive game for them.
The 2-2 was one of my favorite games of the season. I remember.
They had a goal, dude.
Yeah,
they had a crazy goal.
Bro. Of Agudelo.
Augello,
Jesus,
yeah. Agudelo is with Spezia.
Yeah, fuck me.
He has a really chubby girlfriend.
There are. That's terrible. There are 3 players with the same. There's Augello, Agudelo, and there's another one with a fucking Augello Balello or something, man.
Yeah. Anguissa.
No.
Go on.
But yeah, I agree. Sampdoria 3, Verona 1 was Sampdoria's biggest win. Obviously, Verona are no walk in the park, so if a team like Sampdoria beats them, it's crazy. Their biggest loss, obviously, come on.
4-0 Napoli, match day 5.
No way.
I think losing 4-0 is always going to be embarrassing.
No,
you lose 3-0, it's fucked. You lose 1-0, you lost. You lose 2-0, you got outplayed.
Match
you
day
lose
5.
3-0, you got embarrassed. You lose 4-0, you just didn't even start.
Match day 5 against Napoli.
Napoli
were unstoppable.
Sure.
I would say.
Sure, but 4-0.
They're 3-1
This is a
loss.
team with a new manager.
They're 3-1 loss.
They had a good start.
Their 3-1 loss to Cagliari, in my opinion, is way more embarrassing than losing 4-0 to Napoli. You lose to Cagliari.
Yeah, okay.
Who are fucking horsewank. They're 19th place. You lose 3-1 to them. I would rather lose 4-0 to Napoli
Then 3-1, yeah.
Then 3-1 against Cagliari.
You have a point. I just think that when you lose 4-0 to a team...
Yeah, it's the most significant...
it's significant, it's embarrassing, you show that these guys are a level ahead of you and you can't even fucking start. You can't even begin to compete with them.
But at least that's never a game that Samp should have won. The game against Cagliari is a game that Samp should have won, and they lost 3-1. They conceded 3. Which is crazy. Outstanding performer. It's
Kandreva,
no
obviously. Let's brush him aside.
Whatsoever. If I were to brush Kandreva aside, I would probably say Yoshida.
Same.
Yoshida.
Yes.
He's a fucking staple.
He's been really good.
Yeah.
Flop.
It's interesting because there's Damsgaard because he had a great Euros and he's had injury problems, but then there's also Quagliarella, who was expected to start in a 4-4-2 up front alongside Caputo, and he just hasn't been getting his numbers. Of course, he's 39 years old.
Yeah, I thought I kind of not to be that guy, but I kind of didn't expect much from Quagliarella this year, to be honest with you. I'd say Adrian Silva just because he just lets everyone fuck him in the midfield.
Yeah, fair enough. He
lets everyone. He's not dominant at all. He's actually very passive.
He's a massive reason as to why Sampdoria are where they are, which is 15th place.
Yeah.
Because he's supposed to be a guy that controls the game, and he hasn't been controlling the game at all. He's been giving the ball away. He hasn't been available for his teammates to play the ball to, and and defensively terrible. Sorry.
Would Audero get a shout as a flop?
No, because I think Audero is, he gets the short end of the stick. Sure, he's made some mistakes, but his team have made way more mistakes than he has as well. He isn't performing as well as he could, so you could consider him a flop, but nowhere near established people like Quagliarella, would I say.
Yeah, or Adrian Silva.
Yeah.
Position 16th, we have Venezia. One of my favorite teams this year. I have to say, they're so much fun to watch. Biggest win, in my opinion, match day 8, Fiorentina 1-0.
That's nice. I think their 3-2 victory against Roma. Match day 12, so I think Roma scored 2 against Venezia, and it will be a 2-0.
Yeah, you'd consider them out.
Venezia 3, Roma 2 is a great fucking result for Venezia.
Yeah. For me, there's just something romantic about keeping a clean sheet, Yeah. That means you really deserved it.
For sure.
Their biggest loss has to be against Salernitana. I can't believe they've done that. Match day 10, 2-1.
I agree with you.
Horrible.
100%.
Granted,
there was
a relegation
6-pointer.
Yeah. There's a red card that was unjust.
Yeah, but still, you shouldn't be losing 2-1 to Salernitana. And I think, funnily enough, it was Valero that got the red card.
Veloso?
Oh my God, Veloso.
Maybe.
Yeah. That's the wine, guys, by the way. I apologize. Valero. Jesus. Outstanding performer for you?
Outstanding performer for Venezia, in my opinion, of course, has been Aramu. I think we're going to brush him aside, right?
I agree with Aramu.
He's been fantastic. So if we put him aside, I would say newbie Romero has been fantastic. The goalkeeper has been so good for Venezia.
Yeah.
So good.
He's really, I think single-handedly he's taken them up a level. I think having him for the defenders to say, okay, like, we're sorted, we've got Romero on goal. And, he's been a bit all over the place in his career. He wasn't starting a single game for United for a number of seasons.
He was a backup keeper.
Yeah, but he really came in and established himself.
Shout out to Buzio, he's been fantastic too.
As well, my flop would be Henry, and I would say that only because of the amount that they bought him for.
Yes, he's a record signing, I believe, 6 million euros. He's scored 2 own goals. He's not scored that many goals. Granted, he scored 3 goals. Yeah, he scored an important moment, but still, I expected a little bit more from him. There were games where they benched him and they opted for Okereke up front. So I would say Henry is the flop.
I'm starting to like Okereke more and more, man. Yeah. I think he's been better than he was in the beginning.
Imagine how good he'd be if he opened his eyes.
Position 17, we have Spezia. I think their biggest win was on match day 19. Obviously, the win against Napoli without having a single shot on target.
If you won without shooting, what a fucking insane victory.
Win. You didn't even work for it. Exactly. I'm joking, they obviously worked for it.
Biggest loss 6-1 to Lazio match day 2.
I mean, easy.
Yeah. I mean, that was when I thought, alright, so they got Motta, I shot on him, and he's fucking getting embarrassed. Like, this isn't his level for sure.
Outstanding performer, who is it for you?
I have quite a few names. I would say my favorite player on this team and the most reliable and consistent player on this team is Simone Bastoni.
I agree, and that's why I put him as my number 1, because he's probably the first name on the team sheet. He's been solid.
There have been players like Kovalenko, Jazzy, Providel. They've all been great too, but I think Simone Bastoni takes the cake here.
For sure. But yeah, I like the shout of Kovalenko, especially. I know he hasn't started every single game, but when he does, like, wow, he's a fucking good player.
Flop.
Inzola,
easy. He was going to Besiktas, he didn't go, he stayed at Spezia, he sucked.
His attitude is off as well. His attitude is horrible.
And he just looks out of place at times.
Yeah.
I would say Thiago Motta is also a flop if people had any expectations for him. And personally, I didn't, so does that really count as a flop? Probably not. Also, Zoet. Zoet started the season playing as the number 1 in goal, and eventually got benched by Providel because his performances were so subpar.
Yeah, if my memory was a bit better, I would have put Zoet over there as well. I remember literally looking at him playing.
You have to take your vitamins, bro. How do you think I keep this brain working?
Not from the wine, for sure.
Well, Genoa, 18th, biggest win. Cagliari, match day 3, 3-2.
Yep, and I mean, a win against Cagliari is nothing to write home about, but it's fucking Genoa. So
and it's their only way.
It was a good win for Genoa, 3-2 away
well
from home.
Well fought, well deserved.
Yeah.
But, very easy for us to make a decision.
For sure.
Their biggest loss, 3-1 to Sampdoria, match day 17.
Disagree, Salernitana, 1-0. They lose to Salernitana, Genoa,
Sure, but that's a relegation dogfight, it can go either way.
Yeah, but Samp was kind of not a relegation dogfight.
But match day 17, Sampdoria had already proven that they were shit.
But Samp had to win that game,
and that's the Derby della Lanterna, that's why I put it. Yes.
The
Derby della Lanterna, you go into a derby and you get dominated. That's very embarrassing. Yeah. That's terrible loss for them, even though their president came out and said, this was a bad day because we lost, but it was a good day because I'm here.
Yeah, I just wish they could say, alright, we lost the derby to Sampdoria, but at least we can beat Salernitana. You know what I mean? But they can't say that. So, sorry for them. Outstanding performer.
Of course, Mattia
Destro, I think we can put him aside if we're playing this fucking game where we have to put everyone take aside. I would say Rovella has been fantastic.
Phenomenal.
Like a young guy that I didn't expect him to have this impact. We liked him. We liked him at Fratesi in the under-21s. I give us some credibility for that, man.
Rovella is owned by Juve.
Yes. I do know that.
That's
my mind for a second.
He's really good.
Yeah. And Van Huytzen.
Van Huytzen is owned by Inter as well.
Yep,
so these guys are just a factory just producing our rivals' players.
That's Genoa. Genoa for you, bro.
Van Huytzen might get called back. Apparently there were shouts that he might get called back to replace Kolarov, who's been absolutely abysmal.
But I would be unhappy with that if I were Van Huytzen.
Shout out to Cambiasso, who's been great. Vasquez, who's also been great. And Criscito, who has quite a few goals.
Yeah, Criscito, I would give it to him for the 5 penalties scored. He's been really consistent from there. But
6 goals a season.
Otherwise, I haven't liked him that much. Yeah, but you look at his numbers, they're great.
You're right, I apologize, I keep speaking over you.
No,
Crescito doesn't play very well, you're right. And without the penalties, we wouldn't even be talking about
it wouldn't even be a point
But
of
the fact is, he had 5 penalties and he scored them all, and that's not an easy feat, and he did it, Yeah.
Fact.
Flop.
Caicedo.
I was going to put Caicedo, but when he's been alright.
He's one goal. And
But
a
he's
player
barely
like Caicedo
played.
goes to Genoa. Yeah, but I think that's part of the problem. Like, even if he can't stay fit, I think that's a problem for Caicedo.
Fair enough, yes. I did expect more from him, to be honest. But I would have to say that their biggest flops, in my opinion, are Maziello and Hernani.
Yeah, fair enough. They haven't been great. But
Maziello
I think when it comes
sucks.
to expectations, I would stick to my guns and say Caicedo, because you think he goes to Genoa and you're like, oh my god, Genoa got Caicedo. That's really good for them, bro.
He's had 1 start and he's on 1 goal and 2 assists, Caicedo. He's
but my problem is the 1 start.
Yeah.
That's it. Like,
we've had this argument in reverse on this podcast.
It's true.
Goes to show, it depends on the player.
Yeah.
But anyway, we find Cagliari in position 19th, one of the flops of the season as a team.
Overall, man.
Yeah, their biggest win, in my opinion, was against Sampdoria, 3-1, match day 8. An easy shout, considering it was once again their only victory.
Their only win. Man, that's so disappointing.
Yes.
It's so disappointing.
But this is one of those we can just brush off and keep going. Their biggest loss, Udinese 4-0, match day 18.
Agreed, man. You don't like... Udinese are in great form at the moment,
but
and Beto had a lot
4-0,
to say about that win. But you know what I mean. You concede 1, 2, 3. Hold your own. Don't concede the 4th. So
what are we drinking?
They did.
What's this?
This is what the fuck is this? Acquesi. It's an asti. It's a dessert wine.
It's fucking nice.
This is a dessert wine. I don't think it's a Prosecco, no. Dessert wine.
Cool. That's nice.
Super.
But anyway, moving on.
Yep, their biggest loss. We just said that.
Their top performer, of course, let's put João Pedro aside because that's easy. I would say the one that surprised me the most is Raul Bellanova.
I agree.
He's been really good.
He's been really good. Yep, but I think, obviously it's João Pedro.
I had a bit of a dilemma. Mm-hmm. When it comes to Keita Balde, would you consider that a flop or a success? What kind of signing is that, man?
I think he's done enough good to not consider him the flop of the team.
But he could be doing more, right? He could definitely be doing more.
No, for sure. Like if you pair it with João Pedro, you'd hope that that'll get you good results because they're two, fucking good strikers. They're both pacey with a good shot, and João Pedro's intelligence should technically
put him in a few goal scoring positions.
Yeah, but it hasn't worked that way. They don't seem to be that comfortable playing together. So he got the short end of the stick.
Raul Bellanova came from France. He fucking had never played a Serie A game before, and he fit right in. He's fast, he's explosive, he's hardworking, industrious player. He's fucking good. I've been very impressed by him. Nathan Hernandez, of course, has been pretty good too. But let's move on to flops, bro. Who do you think?
I put Nandes as my flop.
Oh my god, really?
I put Nandes as my flop. His output has been...
But he's never been an output player.
Really?
Never, no. He doesn't score, he doesn't assist. He's kind of the hard worker you pop in midfield. They even played him right back.
I saw him, I saw some clips, well, not some clips. From watching him, I realized that he's been a bit lazy, man, for them.
I don't think so, bro, at all, yeah.
Wow.
I think he's a very hard worker.
I put Nandes, and
he's
I'm
one
quite
of those that leaves
by
everything on the pitch. Actually, I would say. Inter want him, for the love of God. They're first.
No, I wasn't aware that Inter want him, and I always rated Nandes as a great player. I think this season he's been particularly worse than he was there, and I think it says a lot that the team's in 19th place. Yeah. So I think if Nandes was performing a little bit better and getting some numbers himself, and not only being João Pedro as one of the best players in the team. It's because of how highly I rate him that I put him as my flop. I just picked him up on Fanta, you know what I mean? I like him. But
my flops would be Dalbert or Gaston Pereiro.
Fair enough.
Those guys had expectations and they've done nothing. Pereiro doesn't even start. Dalbert.
Yeah.
Honestly, I barely remember his performances. He's so forgettable. And I watched quite a bit of Cagliari.
Yep. I think Cagliari, for some reason, I watched them so much, man.
Oh my god, I've just realized I didn't finish prepping. I need to do my top and my flop of Salernitana, but no problem.
We'll get started. Yeah. So Salernitana obviously are in last place. Their biggest win was a 2-1 victory against Venezia. In my opinion, I think it's the most impressive
match
side.
Day 10. I agree.
Yep, that they managed to beat Venezia. Obviously, aren't in a bad position themselves. They had, like, a lot of people are talking about that they're close to relegation. We pointed out on the pod that they had 5 games from hell.
Yeah.
There was Juve, Verona, I think there was Fiorentina, but they managed to get away with 4 points out of those. So that wasn't bad for a newly promoted team. I don't expect them to get relegated.
Agreed.
But yeah, that would be their biggest win in my opinion. 2-1 away from home against Venezia.
So their biggest loss for me, 4-0 to Torino match day 3. What do you think?
Fair enough. I get this is going to be a reverse. Again, I put 5-0 against Inter just because 5-0 is an absolute trashing.
But here we go. Again, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's worse? Let's debate this.
Okay.
What's worse, getting fucking completely annihilated by a big team or losing to a smaller team?
So I get you that getting annihilated by a big team when you're a side like Salernitana is less embarrassing than losing significantly against a smaller team. However, I think once you skip, the 3-goal mark, it's just about how embarrassing it's going to get. And I think, the game against Inter, they simply weren't playing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's not like they're playing against Torino. And I get you for putting that 100%. It's a toss-up between the two. I think conceding 5... conceding 4 is bad, but conceding 5 is terrible. Inter were particularly
I agree,
fucking
but
fire
my point is you're not going to go home with any points against Inter in any situation.
Yeah, no, I agree
against
with
Torino,
that.
you might get a draw, and you didn't. You lost 4-0.
Maybe not Torino this season.
Extremely humiliating.
Yeah. I rate Torino, so I just put the most significant number.
Yeah.
Outstanding performer for Salernitana, Bonazzoli, I guess.
Sure, Bonazzoli has been very good, and also Koulibaly with the shot. I believe it's L Koulibaly, not M Koulibaly, right?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
He's been pretty good.
Yeah. Their flop, Lotito, ha. Honorable mention, Simi, because they spent and Gagliolo, because they spent 2 million on Gagliolo, and he just hasn't improved what Salernitana should and would be.
But to be honest, he's just constantly under fire, that guy, man.
And another shout out goes to Ribéry, obviously, because expectations would be a bit higher. But I never really expected Ribéry to get it going at Salernitana.
Are you stealing my notes, bro?
No, genuinely Ribéry.
I don't see Ribéry there, man.
Yeah, bro, it's called fucking improv. These are slight notes, like.
I got a question.
So, of course, the loyal motherfuckers in the room know that this is our question segment.
Yeah.
This week we have one question from Twitter. It was actually asked on the 20th of December, back when we were originally meant to record our podcast, but Matthew was in contact with a contaminated person.
Well, with like 3 or 4. So that was.
But thankfully, you're
crazy.
fine. Man.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Anyway, our question comes from Forza Milan America, or after watching Captain Phillips, I'd say Forza Milan America. And he says, thoughts on the Scudetto race and Milan's struggles.
Okay, so to me, we're kind of undervaluing how much of a positive effect not having Europe is going to do to Milan. So a lot of us are saying Milan are going to continue slipping and they're going to come 3rd or 4th. But I think Milan not having Europe will make them a little bit stronger, and they can keep that 2nd place and maybe fight a little bit for the Scudetto. I would say that finish 1st to 3rd. I don't see them dipping until 4th. To me, obviously the obvious shout to win the Scudetto this season would be Inter, but I also see Atalanta having great squad depth as well. They did just lose that game to Roma, but I see them capable of pushing. They tend to turn up in the second half of the season, and I think they'll put a push on those top 2.
Atalanta are one of the only teams not affected by AFCON, right? Are they affected at all? I don't think so.
Atalanta, not really, bro.
Not really at all.
Not really.
Milan lose Kessie and Benacer. Napoli lose Anguissa, Osimhen and Koulibaly. Inter barely lose anyone. They lose No, not Lautaro. What am I fucking talking about?
No.
They don't lose anyone.
Either.
Anyway, so Inter and Atalanta remain relevant for those few weeks. For me, I think people are sleeping on Milan. I think Milan are getting back Leao and they're getting back Rebic, and we're going to see that sexy, fluid football that we saw at the beginning of the season. Huh? So I think Milan will remain there. Inter are definitely the guarantee, the safest bet right now. Napoli messed up the easy games that they should have won against relegation sides in Spezia and Empoli. They had their injuries, they got through it, but they didn't win when it was important to win. Or they dropped points when it was important that they didn't drop points, you know?
I agree.
Empoli and Spezia, you should be getting at least 2 points out of those. They got zero.
For sure. 2 points is the minimum.
So I'd say right now, it's hot between Inter and Milan, personally.
Okay. So
Inter have the upper hand, of course.
Yeah. So to me, you know, Milan are going to go through another significant change. They overcame the loss of Donnarumma, they overcame the loss of Çalhanoğlu. They're going to need to overcome the loss of Kessie now. So, you know, not having a staple starter alongside Tonali is going to be a little bit complicated for a team that brings so much play forward from those defensive midfielders. So, I mean, Benacer is off to AFCON as well, and he's been a little bit off sorts. Bakayoko's been off sorts. So, who's going to partner Tonali?
Yeah, that's... I guess it would be Bakayoko, unfortunately. But... Pioli did mention recently that apparently Florencio Calabria will be considered for the centre mid position.
By one.
It's not nice to think about, of course. Thinking about the right back in centre mid. But bro, a centre back is way more of a priority right now due to Kier's injury. And this is kind of the Moneyball thing. You know, you have Florencio and you have Calabria, whose output isn't too bad.
Think of it, you're right. Probably Krunic will be being
Krunic there would be amazing too. I mean, he's shown it against Sampdoria at the beginning of the season. He was great and he performed well. You know, we were missing players for the majority of the season.
Yeah. Should we give a call to Mintoff?
Yes, because we're out of questions. We only got one this week.
We didn't market this episode at all. I'm sorry.
Embarrassing. Yes. Yeah. So we're gonna call Mintoff and we're gonna bother him. Let's see if he has a question for us. Oh, I touched the mic. Hopefully it didn't pick up.
Hello?
Oh, Mint, we're on the pod and we need questions. Can you hit us up here?
Please.
Holy shit. Wow.
How are you, first of all? How's your leg?
Alright, man. Leg's alright. COVID's alright.
Oh, you were positive or you were in contact?
No, I was positive.
You are positive? Oh
fuck.
Shit. So you're in quarantine right now?
And a torn ACL.
I am in quarantine, man.
Holy fuck, so you have your meniscus, your ACL, and COVID.
Yes.
How do you feel?
I feel like God really doesn't like me.
Or that guy that tore your ACL and that guy that gave you COVID. Or a lady that gave you COVID.
Did you get it at work?
I got it at work here.
Damn.
Colleague of ours came to work sick and don't think it was the smartest place, but what can you do?
Fuck it. Do you have a question for us, dude? On the spot, I know, sorry.
On the spot a bit, yeah. Okay, I might have one, and I don't know how good it's gonna be.
No problem. No, honestly, we're fishing like.
Okay. How about what is your guys' take on the fact that Boga has just signed for Atalanta, of course.
Oh, good question.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
he's going to be, since he's still pretty young and seems to be a player that Gasperini would like, and Muriel looks like he's not on the way out, but he could be the requirement soon.
Yes. We'll answer it. What do you think?
What do I think? I think that it's a fantastic signing for Atalanta, personally.
Facts.
I don't think currently in the league, at the price that they paid, they could get anyone better. However, I am worried about how his form has really not been that good.
Yeah.
But under a new coach, under a different team, under under a much better team, of course, and under maybe he can. He's going to be playing with Duvan Zapata, and all those Raspadori are playing well.
And would Raspadori replace him, do you think?
Well, Juric is back now. And I heard a few things that they're going. Sassuolo are going to buy a Serie B winger, I believe.
Okay.
You know who it is?
I forgot his name, but damn it.
No problem.
Fuck it. Serie A, no one knows him anyway.
And Mint, Atalanta play a 3 at the back formation. Do you think Boga will fit? Do you think they'll go to a 3-4-3? Because a 3-5-2, I don't think Boga fits.
I can't see Boga playing wing back. He's not a good defender.
I agree. Like,
I'm just. I mean, they could play the Quid Miners, Boga, and then like a Hattabor on the right.
Yeah, and focus the play through the left, right? Yeah.
I don't know, or put Boga left forward. It's exciting for sure. Sure. And I'm. However, I just wonder if Gasperini can get anything out of him.
Boga might work well in the 3-4-2-1 that Gasperini likes to deploy sometimes with two attacking midfielders like Ilicic and Pasalic, for example. Boga would be good there, I think.
It could be good. What Boga will offer to that team that maybe they have been missing slightly is that he gives them a person who's ready to dribble anybody. They like this kind of players in Atalanta.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's deployed off the bench more often than not.
It could be. I mean, at the beginning, I would be very surprised if I see him starting. I would be very surprised.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you guys? What do you think?
So I tend to agree with you. I'm not sure how he fits in a 3-5-2, but if they do change it up to a 3-4-3, in game they do change it up quite a bit, and they put Ilicic on the right and Boga on the left, I think it could work. 20 million is a sleeper signing, in my opinion. I think they're not going to regret it at all. Yeah.
I think Atalanta gained some firepower. We know how much they like squad rotation, and I think that Boga would get them some good squad rotation and to get some good minutes as well. And I think 20 million is a good amount for Sassuolo to take in right now for signings, to pay off Caputo as well. So I think it's a mutualistic kind of thing.
Yeah.
Based off his form, I don't think they could have gotten much more money out of him.
Exactly.
To get 30 instead of 20.
Yeah. Of course.
However, I'm sure they can. They definitely should buy a new winger with this money. It should definitely be reinvested immediately. Although then it could stand the question, maybe they just play with Juricic Raspadori this season.
Probably.
And, play it out and then invest more widely in summer. But I can't remember this guy's bloody name of Serie A, but he was heavily linked with them.
Serie A, it's not Lucca, right?
No, man, I bloody can't remember. So annoying.
Okay, no problem.
It's cool.
Thank you very much, Mint, for taking this, man. So late, it's midnight.
It was a bit impromptu, but I hope I have. Or,
you helped a lot there, bro.
It was great. You gave us an additional 5 minutes, dude. Thank you very much.
Well, man, I'll be glad to listen to the next episode. So.
The second you're out of quarantine, message.
Definitely.
Alright. Ciao, bro.
See you, dude. Thank you.
Bye.
So I think that pretty much wraps it up, guys. Sorry for the dry amount of questions we had. It's this
shout out to Luke Mintoff. What a king, by the way.
Yeah, legend. Not a shout out to Jamie because he didn't answer my call earlier on. So fuck that. But yeah, this has been a nice little special, something you guys are maybe not used to on this segment. So hit us up, give us your takes on any of the teams from 1 to 20, and we can have a chat about them.
You can do that on Twitter, on Instagram at Serie A Spotlight. Follow us, comment on our shit. Hit us up with questions, hot takes, anything you want, and we'll mention you on the podcast for sure.
Yep, and we'll see you when football restarts again
on the 6th of January. I can't wait, personally. I've been counting out. The Premier League's been on, I haven't even put it on.
Hey man, same here. But we'll see you guys next time, and thank you for tuning in.